Hey guys, Scott here. I've been working on an analysis video for Trickster compared to Huntress because a lot of people were not happy with just the fact that I was saying, well, math-wise, he can down someone just as fast as Huntress, but he's not punished nearly as much because they wanted to see examples of tiles and things like that and think that he can do better at tiles. So I've been working on this video to prove all the things that I've been saying. But while I was working on that, and I'll upload that video later, but while I was working on that, I think I have a perfect example of why I actually am not a fan of Trickster and his whole playstyle, but I do like Huntress, despite the fact that they play almost the same exact way at certain tiles. And I want to go over what the case is here. So this is going to be the talking point that I'm going over. This hit right here, I was just comparing Huntress and comparing Trickster at Shack, and that hit right here. This little maneuver, I was able to get a hit faster than Trickster possibly could by about 6 seconds. So Huntress did actually have a higher potential than Trickster at the Shack. A lot of other tiles, Trickster actually does better. In fact, more tiles than not, Trickster does better. But at Shack, in this particular example, a Huntress has a higher potential to get a quicker hit. But I want to talk about what's going on here. This whole little tiny segment of gameplay right here. This is it. As I round the corner right here, this is where I think the magic happens. So what happens here, right? I ready my hatchet. The survivor hears me ready the hatchet. Immediately, we both have to make a decision very quickly, and we have to use lots of knowledge and skill to make that decision. We can both see and hear each other, so we can try to read what the other one is actually going to do. You can hear add-ons and things like that. The survivor has to gauge the last time they saw me. They need to gauge my movement speed. They need to know, based on the last time that I saw them, are they going to be able to round this corner in time? Because I hear him readying a hatchet. Will I be around this corner in time? Should I try to dodge it? And I have to be thinking of the same things basically in reverse. Am I going to be here in time? Do I immediately round the corner and let the hatchet go? Does he know that? Is he going to try to dodge it? If so, should I fully charge the hatchet so actually he dodges back into it? Is he just going to keep running because he thinks I'm not actually going to be able to make it in time? We need to all analyze these things really fast in this scenario. And this simple moment has so much gameplay actually going on that I really enjoy, because we're both having to use our knowledge as players to make decisions very, very quickly. And that's interesting. I think that's the fun of the game. Survivors being able to use their knowledge and me being able to use my knowledge and then pitting that against each other. Now, obviously, truck size hitboxes aside, Huntress can be obnoxious to go against for that reason, but unfortunately Trickster is kind of the same way because it's less a hitbox issue and more a desync issue, and I've been getting knives that were nowhere near people but still downing them. So that's unfortunately is still going to be a thing with Trickster, so if you think you hate Huntress because of that issue, you're going to hate Trickster just for the exact same issue, because the desync is pretty bad with that. But that's a DBD issue, not a Huntress issue. So all those scenarios, we have to think about so many different things just as I round the corner and make that play a possibility. Now, if I choose incorrectly, for example, say I let that go, but he knew that I was going to be in range and he dodged, well, I would have missed. Unless I had a perfect flick reaction time, which I probably wouldn't, I would have missed, and that is huge. When Huntress misses, it's a big deal. She's got a 2-second cooldown, she's slower, and she has to, the survivor's going to gain an additional loop around the Shack, which is a huge waste of time. But if I play it right and he plays it wrong, well, then I hit him. It's an instant damaging state. Much higher risk, much higher reward than, say, a Trickster. And here is why I don't like Trickster, and this example is exactly why. Because in this scenario, if I was the Trickster, the survivor's correct play involves zero choice whatsoever. There is only one play to make here, and that's to keep running. There's no other play to make. There's no skill involved. You just do the same thing. You hold W, put shit in the way. That's all you do. Because the dodging that you're doing is not meaningful in any way, because he's throwing 50 of them, and his windup is very fast. So the dodging portion of it makes it so all the reads you would do like against the Huntress are irrelevant. It's always objectively the correct play to just keep running behind the Shack. Because, like, for example, like if I pull out my knives in, 0.3 seconds or whatever, because that's how long it takes, if I pull out my knives and he tries to dodge, I can just hit him with 5 or 6 knives before he even spins back and can get, out of line of sight again. Even if I hit him with 4 or 5, I'll hit him as soon as they're around the corner with the last 2. He takes an injury state. So it's always the wrong choice to try to dodge the knives in this scenario, which means there's no decision making to be had in this scenario. So you're just following a flow chart at this point. Just hold W, put shit in behind you. That's it. It's the Deathslinger counterplay. Yeah, you can beat Deathslinger by doing this 100%, but it's just shitty gameplay. There's no skill involved there. Like, I don't get to really do anything special as a killer. The survivor doesn't get to do anything special, and it's due to how unpunished Trickster really is for kind of missing or winding up or any of that shit. And all this was made possible because of the change from 8 to 6. And I want to explain how those are related. So before, it would take Trickster longer than Huntress to down at a similar setup, for example. So the fact that Trickster could be sloppier, miss one or two, it's not as big of a deal, especially his laceration time was longer as well. So, if he missed a couple, if he was a bit sloppier, it's not that huge of a deal. Whereas if you missed the hatchet with Huntress, it's actually kind of a huge deal. So you have this scenario where Huntress is not really on the same level of punishment because Huntress winds up, 4 times slower. She moves slower while she's holding her hatchet. She cools down slower. Like, everything about her is more punished than Trickster. But since the change from 8 to 6 happened, Trickster's time to down is now actually about the same as Huntress. Like, you can actually down people, like when you round the corner, if you're going through Shack and you round the corner with your hatchet raised and, the play is they have to take the fastball to the window or go to the pallet, right? So in that situation as Huntress, you basically got to hit if you're a good Huntress because they're either locked into the animation or they try to juke it and go to the pallet and then you just hold it and wait, right? Before, Trickster could not hit 8 knives in time. So he couldn't do the same thing Huntress could do there. He would have to do a couple of peppered shots around it, and then he could do that. Now, because it was lowered to 6, it's exactly the right amount of knives and time it takes to catch someone in a fast vault, and then before they can get out of line of sight. So now he can actually do the same thing that Huntress can, but the problem is he has way less punishment for it. He has even twice as many potential downs before he even has to reload as Huntress. And he's better at camping than Huntress. He downs people that are unhooking faster. He even has main event, which is basically ranged Leatherface at that point. He has actually more things that actually make him stronger than Huntress overall, despite Huntress being able to do better at a couple of tiles due to, these kind of fringe scenarios. So that's my main problem with Trickster. There's no real skill involved, I think, in either side. Because the correct play survivors should always make is hold W and put shit in between you. You shouldn't really try to dodge his shots because it's meaningless to do that. And I think that's what separates him from Huntress because you have to make a bunch of calculations to know if you're going to dodge a shot or you should even try to dodge a shot. And those are all skill-based things. Trickster has none of that. You just hold W, put shit between you. I think that's boring. I don't know how you could argue that's not boring. I get so much shit for saying that stuff is boring, but how could you argue that's not boring? You're just holding W, like 5 minutes in the game, and you can do that. You can look behind you and make sure there's walls in the way. I don't know. I just don't find that very interesting. Anyway, I'm going to keep working on this analysis video because a lot of people were not happy with just the raw numbers of me saying that he's better. They want to see actual proof at tiles and things like that. So I am working on showing you that proof. I have it all recorded. I just need to edit it and have a good example. So that's it. Just wanted to talk about that real quick while I had the example ready. But thanks for watching, guys. See ya.